This is fun. This is good. So this is our next speaker has such a long bio, it literally did not fit onto the cells in my Excel spreadsheet about this. She has done so much in her career. I tried to fit as much of it as I could, but she's worked everywhere from the state of Minnesota to nonprofits in Washington, D.C. This is actually, I think, one of the coolest things. Planning director at Minnesota State, where she helped create worked on 54 different campuses here in Minnesota. These days, she defines herself, I like this, as a professional volunteer and is very focused, environmental equity, inclusion, justice, and just frankly, like dreaming big. So, without further ado, please, yes, that's good. It's a wonderful thing. Like, don't laugh at dreaming. That's a terrible message for the kids. It's good, it's great, it's fabulous. Everyone, please, a big round of applause. Sally Grange-Kosh, everybody.
Wow, you're looking good. So the Design in 7 was really a fun opportunity for me to look at a life resume, not just a project resume, so I encourage you to do that. I look back on 50 years ago as the attribute of curiosity yielded enlightenment for me. I was 16 years old and we're in the working class neighborhood of the east side of St. Paul, and I had a subscription to the Village Voice. I am not sure how I got it, but I was sure that it broadened my horizons and my perspective. I mean, these were troubled times. There was a war in Vietnam, corrupt politics, racial inequity, changing attitudes on sex and gender. All were facets that were enlightened to me from the New York Village to my little home in the east side of St. Paul Village. Also in 1970, the Whole Earth Catalog came out and expanded my understanding that the Earth is a finite ball with finite resources. And that is now reinforced clearly with climate weirdness. So these troubled times in this fragile world are similar to what's going on right now. In 1973, I was at the U of M and further enlightened as a grade 1 student, architecture student, enrolled in the hands-on Ouroboros self-sustaining house in Rosemont. The name Ouroboros comes from the mythical dragon that eats its own tail, sort of reduce, reuse, recycle the original. 30 years later, maybe some of you worked on the hands-on project with the Department of Energy solar decathlon that the U of M won an architecture award for. But this simple mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle became an important Venn diagram for me and the whole picture of Earth, planet, profit, people. The interconnection of these three elements played an important part through my life. For instance, the diagram helped me explain why I wanted to be an architect. I was greedy, and I could not narrow my interests or my perspective. And I wanted to do it all, art, science, society stuff. And architecture is the perfect intersection to those three elements. The same diagram became an essential basic for explain the pre-design concept of scope, cost, and schedule. At the State of Minnesota Department of Administration, we changed how capital projects were presented to the legislature in 1996 with this document. Then in 2000, we used it as the planning basis to request projects for the 54 campuses in the MnSCU system. As designers, you must understand this document, or this diagram, because these interconnected elements are essential. And you have to have your clients understand them because one element does impact and affect the other one. And most clients just don't get it. They just fail to understand. So rather than emphasize failure, though, I want to share a story of success. We had one campus that had an entire lab building that needed a total renovation and had to keep the classes going because they had nursing students with sequential scheduling. We had an innovative finance CFO who understood that schedule dynamics do impact scope and cost. Subsequently, she paid a science faculty to alter their academic program for just one semester, uploading labs to the front of the semester and lecture to the end of the semester that allowed then lab classes to be empty by mid-March. An equally clever architect and contractor documented and pre-ordered the custom cabinetry, and so it was all delivered by mid-March. When all the lab classes were done, space was empty and demolition to occur. The result was, in just 4.5 months, a complicated $6 million project was done, and lab classes began the following fall with no disruption to students at all. So it was really a logistical nightmare, but it had a logistical solution. So I also got to say that logistically, we all must remember that sustainability permeates all of these facets. And it's important that sustainability is also for yourself and for you to be balanced. People, planet, profit can be transformed to you, work, and community. You know already that if you don't take care of yourself, your work will suffer. Just as much as you know if you work too much, your family life, whatever that might be, friends or family, your home life suffers. So people talk about the seesaw of work-life balance, but I see it as the triangle of work, life, community. Especially in your younger years, you really need to be striving at work and home, but you also need to be broadening your perspective by being involved in the community, whatever that is. So take care of yourself. Get your medical and dental and do your good work. Pay attention to it, but also keep a larger relationship with the larger community to balance out all elements. Finally, I need you to also step up. You're a privileged design skills. You've got creative thinking. You've developed life cycle analysis stuff. You've got evidence-based rationale. These are all essential to improving this fragile planet. And you benefit when you volunteer, whether it's a community group, faith-based, nonprofit, environmental, whatever group it is. You become more enlightened by different perspectives. Your perspective is increased. You find out more about yourself when you serve others. And your work obviously benefits from seeing how others negotiate, how they're recalcitrant, how some small voices have big ideas, and how there are just some plain jackasses to deal with. But it's better to learn how to deal with a jackass on a volunteer basis than on the job or in your work or home life. But besides stepping up, one also needs to self-examine when to step aside, to hear and allow different diverse perspectives to flourish. You got to look around at your community, faith-based, environmental, whatever group it is you're involved in, and see whose voice is missing. What would be enhanced by that missing voice? Step aside to allow people of color in your group if it's all white. Step aside if there are no younger or older voices, because the younger voices are the perspective to today, but they're also the leaders of tomorrow. And now this is really painful for me as an old white woman here to sometimes say, I gotta step aside. Vast experience, insights, wisdom, and great innovations that I might have done might be appreciated, yet it really is true what Babe Ruth said, and that is, home runs from yesterday do not make today's win. So, I don't wanna be negative though, and I don't wanna close that way, so I want you to believe that your design skills can help and improve and balance this fragile world. So just like 50 years ago, when I was coming of age in the 60s, they were fragile, difficult times, and we have done improvements since then, but there's a war across the globe, there's racial injustice, there's social strife, there's inequities, and the edge of climate catastrophe is getting nearer to us every day. So, you gotta use your design skills and your perspective to help make a difference. We all need to step up or step aside to allow what yields what's best for this fragile planet and our civilization to survive. So go forth, do well.
Love it. Yay! Big round of applause. Fantastic. I love it.